My name is Rob Feigley, and on behalf of the Independent Order of Oddfellows North Point Lodge Number 4, I welcome you to our Memorial Day service. Oddfellows is a fraternal charity and community organization based upon the grand principles of friendship, love, and truth. It is with heavy hearts and profound regrets that due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we are unable to hold our usual ceremony with a large audience. However, an honoring of those who lost their lives in service to the United States has taken place at this site on Memorial Day since the end of World War II, and we were determined to continue that important tradition for the 75th year. I encourage you to watch our ceremony with your loved ones and share it with your family and friends, as we must never forget the sacrifices made for our freedom. I'm incredibly honored and humbled to be here today, and I promise we will do our best to properly honor those brave souls. Before we begin our ceremony, I want to say a few things about our current situation. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought us into a war against a hidden and parasitic enemy that has invaded every aspect of our lives. It has tested our resolve at every turn. It has kept us at a distance from those dear to us. It has caused profound loss and pain for all of us in different ways. But difficult circumstances and war against an enemy bring the opportunity for heroism. We express our profound gratitude for those heroes on the front lines fighting against COVID-19. Healthcare workers and first responders putting their lives on the line to protect and heal those stricken with this deadly plague. We acknowledge our essential workers who have kept the supply chain going at risk to themselves. We are grateful for our teachers who have continued to teach our students under extremely difficult circumstances. We are proud of our children and students who have continued to move forward in their education. We are heartbroken for the lives lost due to this pandemic, and most especially those who lost their lives by putting themselves at risk in service to others. But such adversity gives every single one of us the opportunity to be a hero. How can we do that? We can live by the principles of friendship, love, and truth. We can be kind and compassionate and look out for those around us. We can be understanding and considerate of the difficulties and struggles of others. I know this is the unofficial first day of summer, and that makes our circumstances all the more difficult. But I implore all of you to be a hero. Please follow the guidelines and look out for the safety of not only yourself, but those around you. We will beat this enemy, and we will get our lives back. Last but certainly not least, to the class of 2020 everywhere. We congratulate you on finishing your school year under unimaginably difficult circumstances. It was so unfair for you to be deprived of the normal joy of a graduation year. But persevering through these tough times has made your achievements go far beyond the classroom and academics. I know it is hard to understand this right now, but the courage and bravery you have exuded will one day serve you well. Our hearts are broken with you, but as you move forward along the path of life and become our new leaders, know that we are with you every step of the way. We are more proud of you than any words could say, and we love you deeply. We begin with a prayer. All-powerful God, we honor today those men and women, our sons and daughters, husbands and wives, fathers, brothers, sisters, mothers, who have laid down their life for their country. Whether weary or emboldened, quiet or defiant, vulnerable or ready when you called them home, their sacrifice is too humbling for words except those uttered in prayer. Loving Lord, bless them forever in your eternal peace, cherish their spirit, honor their commitment, send them our love, and we will never forget the service that they gave. Amen. Why we gather today. Memorial Day is a day for remembering and honoring military personnel who died in the service of their country, particularly those who died in battle or as a result of wounds sustained in battle. Today is a day to remember those who served our country and are no longer with us. My grandpa Edgar fought at Guadalcanal, and my Uncle George fought in Europe in World War II. They don't call it the greatest generation for nothing, and I consider it one of my greatest blessings in life that they returned home and they were part of my life before passing on. Today we remember Grandpa Edgar, Uncle George, and all our ancestors who impacted our lives and made sacrifices serving our country for our freedom. My Uncle Dane served in Vietnam. He was one of the kindest men I ever knew, but he had his demons. He was never the same after returning home from the war, and ultimately, his demons played a role in his leaving us far too soon. Many soldiers return home alive, but are never the same, and sadly, for some, the trauma endured while serving our country cost them their lives. Today, we remember Uncle Dane and all those who eventually paid the ultimate price because of their sacrifice to our country. And most of all, today is a day to remember and honor those who died in battle while fighting for the freedoms that we all hold so dear as Americans. The images of the endless graves at Arlington National Cemetery, the countless names on the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, the flag-draped coffins returning away from faraway lands remind us that freedom is never free and requires sacrifice. It is our duty as Americans to remember the bloodshed and sacrifices made to make us the great nation we are today. For those of you who have lost brothers and sisters you served with, spouses, parents, children, and beloved family and friends who paid the ultimate price for our freedom, today our hearts are with you, and we acknowledge your loss and sacrifice today as well. The National Moment of Remembrance, established December 28, 2000, Public Law 106-579 by the 106th Congress, asks Americans, wherever they are at 3 p.m. local time on Memorial Day, to pause in an act of national unity for a duration of 1 minute. The 3 p.m. time was chosen because it is the time when most Americans are enjoying their freedoms on the holiday. The moment does not replace traditional Memorial Day events, but rather is an act of national unity in which all Americans, alone or with family and friends, honor those who died in service to the United States. Today, as we honor Memorial Day, the services of men and women in uniform come into a greater focus. For more than 2 centuries, Americans have fought to preserve the freedoms our forefathers so valiantly earned. From one generation to the next, young men and women have answered the call to serve our nation with courage and commitment. We should pause to remember those who served and who are currently serving in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard. If you know a veteran, an active member of the military, or someone who served but has since passed on, please take a moment to consider his or her service on this Memorial Day. Holding in our hearts and remembering the courage, pride, love, and sacrifice of each fallen soldier is why we gather today. God bless America, and God bless you all. The Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our national anthem. We have no guest speakers today, but some of our local representatives and friends were kind enough to pass along Memorial Day messages for everyone, and I will now proudly read them on their behalf. Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski, Jr. I'm sorry I can't be with you all this year to celebrate and remember those men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. President Franklin D. Roosevelt once said, "In the truest sense, freedom cannot be bestowed it must be achieved. Each year on Memorial Day, we are reminded of those brave service men and women who believe so fiercely in the true value and importance of freedom that they laid down their life for it. This year, even under the hardships of a pandemic and the uncertainty of our future, I hope we will all take a moment to reflect on the freedoms this country allows us. I hope we remember the immense sacrifices these fallen soldiers made in the name of their communities and for a nation they loved. I hope we remind our children and grandchildren that the real heroes to look up to aren't those they see in movies or video games, but those that donned a uniform and gave their all. I hope we take the time to look back into our history and commemorate those that came before us and the life of service they gave for our freedoms. I hope we realize that these ordinary men and women heard the call to serve and willingly answered it, not for fame, glory, or legacy, but because it was the right thing to do. They chose service because they loved our country. They loved what our country stands for. They loved that we are a nation of freedom and opportunity. They loved that we are a nation of tradition, but that we are willing to evolve. They loved our country, and they knew it was worth fighting for. Today, we honor those whose lives were lost. But I know that this community and this thankful nation will never forget their sacrifice and service. Thank you, Mr. County Executive. District 6 Senator Johnny Ray Salling. I want to thank the Independent Order of Odd Fellows, North Point Lodge Number 4, for inviting me to make a statement today in celebration of Memorial Day. Of course, given the pandemic, we are in an interesting time and have had to submit our statements to be read. Since 1945, the IOOF North Point Lodge has hosted the Memorial Day celebration at Fort Howard Veterans Park. I'm very happy to hear that even during this pandemic, IOOF is continuing to take time to stop and remember the ultimate sacrifice that so many of our armed forces made for us. Without their sacrifices, our world would have been a very different place. Our area is rich in this history of sacrifice. From the founding of our nation to the sacrifices of those that fought on this very land and abroad to protect our rights and freedoms, we can never say thank you enough. We extend our sincerest and deepest gratitude for their sacrifice and honor them today. Sincerely, Senator Johnny Ray Salling. Thank you, Senator Salling. District 6 Delegate Bob Long. Hello. We are here today to remember the brave men and women who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our freedoms. We must not forget their families also. I know our country is under a lot of stress right now, and I would love to be here in person, but we will be back, and we will come through this. I want to thank all the people who are putting this together, the Odd Fellows and whoever else is involved. I just want to thank them for all their hard work and their time. Hopefully next year we will be able to come together. God bless this country and God bless this state. Thank you. Thank you, Delegate Long. District 6 Delegate Rick Metzger. At this time of year, with the uncertainty of times in which we are living, we as Americans still take the time to remember those who kept us free. Little do we know at the time that they were truly paving the way for hometown heroes who are on the front lines today, our doctors, nurses, and other healthcare workers. Today, we remember those who have lost their lives during the war against this unseen enemy. Thank you, Delegate Metzger. North Point Peninsula Council President and Todd's Inheritance Vice President Francis Taylor. Since 1664, in good times and bad, Todd's Inheritance, as it is now known, has been a presence on the North Point Peninsula and a witness to the endurance of residents during challenging times. And in all cases, we may have come out scathed, but not defeated. At the Todd House, we tell the stories of glory times and of a past that has sometimes tarnished our society. We are here today to honor and thank those who have served and paid the ultimate price for our freedom. This is a time to thank their families also for their sacrifices. We invite you to visit the Todd House Museum and Interpretive Site, and if you are like us and think the history of the peninsula is worth sharing, join us and become part of our family. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. From our friend who has spoken at this event for the last 5 years, William Fuhrer. As much as it pains me to not be in beautiful Fort Howard Veterans Park this Memorial Day, for the safety of our neighbors and friends, I understand the changes being made this year. And despite not being surrounded by our beloved men and women in uniform and their families, I can close my eyes and see Old Glory flying high and the handheld flags in the crowd. I can hear the military band playing, and I can hear the lone bugler playing taps. Today we honor and remember. What we give today is but a small token and in no way compares to the debt that we owe to our fallen brothers and sisters. Sacrifice is meaningless without remembrance. Those freedoms were paid for with the lives of others. That is why they are collectively remembered on one special day, Memorial Day. We owe it to the many men and women who have gone on from this world in defense of our freedom. As a people, we must always remember what they have done. It is important that we keep their memory alive and pass it on to someone else. They made the sacrifice with their lives so that we could be here today, the beneficiaries of the liberty they purchased. The sacrifice of their lives, children with no parents, parents losing their child, cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents. Each and every one of us has family and friends that will never be seen again. Broken families and devastated lives, true heroes who gave their life for something bigger than themselves. Remember the past, honor those who are no longer with us, focus on the issues of today, and prepare for the battles of tomorrow. We value the sacrifices of everyone in our military service and their family members who also make sacrifices. Sacrifices of their cherished family for us, for me and for you, for our freedom, for our beloved United States of America. Be mindful of our veterans. We do not have the opportunity to thank those who are no longer here with us today, those that made the ultimate sacrifice, but what we can do is thank those who served alongside them, for they also offered their lives for our freedom. Don't just take a fleeting moment to say thank you. Be sincere. Talk to them, ask them about their service, ask them why they decided to serve. Take some time and really show you care. And keep in your thoughts those who have lost their family members in service to our country. Our duty to them is to go forward today and every day and remember. We don't know them all, but we certainly owe them all. Respectfully and humbly, William Fuhrer. Thank you, William, and many thanks to all who took the time to pass along their messages. We appreciate it. And we thank Lawrence Hoffman Sr. and Lawrence Hoffman Jr. for their continued hard volunteer work to maintain this beautiful site. 2 years into the Second World War, the citizens of Penwood Terrace, Todd's Farm, and Fort Howard decided that a permanent memorial should be established to honor and remember those in the neighborhood who served in that conflict. Donations were taken door to door in order to erect a tribute to the men and women who served in World War II from these communities, and it was placed in 1945 at the elementary school that once stood here. In December 1945, a request was made for a donation from Oddfellows number 4 so that a wreath could be placed, and so began the Oddfellows involvement. This wreath was placed in time to honor the World War II veterans when they returned home. Oddfellows established a tradition of placing a wreath every year on Memorial Day, and over the years, the wreath placement evolved into the beautiful ceremony that you are witnessing today. We express our gratitude to the citizens of this area who fought to save this site and the monument when the elementary school was raised, for without their efforts, we would not be here at this moment. At this time, I would like to honor up honored guests, Oddfellows North Point Lodge number 4, Grandmaster Patrick Petrush, and Vice Grand Ella Reed for the placing of the wreath. There are 151 names on the monument. 2 are women and 7 are gold stars for those killed in action. We honor them today and ring the bell as each name is read. Sergeant Melvin Fryer, U.S. Army 82nd Airborne, killed in action June 16, 1944, Caen, France, 10 days after D-Day. Second Lieutenant Calco Leno, U.S. Army Air Corps, killed in action July 18, 1944 in a training accident. Private Ernest B. Kessler, U.S. Army, killed in action January 18, 1945, in the Battle of the Bulge. Private Joseph Darchcourt, U.S. Army, killed in action April 17, 1945, 208th Engineer Battalion. Private Joseph Dudek, U.S. Army, killed in action July 13, 1944, 10th Engineer Battalion, France. Sergeant William A. Weiss, Jr., U.S. Army Air Corps, flew 15 B-17 combat missions, killed in action March 20th, 1945, over Lubeck, Schleswig, Holstein, Germany. Private James Hubbard, U.S. Marine Corps, killed in action May 31st, 1945, in the Pacific. We also honor two Odd Fellows, North Point No. 4 founding members from 1913 who served and died in World War I. Leopold J.H. Rogers, World War I and No. 4 member, killed in action, date unknown. Joseph B. Byers, World War I and No. 4 member, killed in action October 15th, 1918. I present our honor guard from Chapter 965 of the Vietnam Veterans of America. We close with a prayer. On this Memorial Day, we pray for those who courageously laid down their lives for the cause of freedom. May the examples of their sacrifice inspire us, in us, the selfless love of your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ. Bless the families of our fallen troops and fill their homes and their lives with your strength and peace. Amen.